you doing, Internet? I'm B-Nuts, and today we'll be taking a look at Kotobukiya's mobile support goods heavy weapon number 5, the M.S.G, which, as you can see here, can be put into various different configurations. These ones are shooting, so you have a longbow, crossbow, and blaster. Then on the back you have all of the components separate, and then what it would look like with frame arms wielding it in the separate sword modes, with the axes, and then just with the cannon. And then here the frame arms is holding it again in full Mega/Edge mode, and the cannon, big wave motion cannon. And as you can see, they recommend it for ages over 14 years, but I think some of my nieces and nephews could handle this. Here we see all the parts as you would need them in order to use them. On the far side we have the ones with the, as it would look, with all of the clear green parts on them and without, so you can tell a size difference with that, as well as a difference in the appearance in and of itself. Construction is mostly simple apart from here, where you have all of these points of articulation, and they're all just put together with mostly with pegs and holes, as you can see, which can be quite loose. And make sure that you have everything sandwiched together tightly so that you can have as much help as possible in securing it, because all it's got is friction to hold it together. Otherwise it would just fall apart like that. And you've got this thick handle for the main unit, so you're going to have a little bit of trouble having it in a high-grade Gunpla's hands. As I can show you here, it'll just pop off the hand cover like that. Unless, of course, you're holding the hand cover down. And at the same time, this handle is a little bit on the thick side. For a high-grade hand, it's also not thick enough for a master grade or 1:100 scale hand. So you can have it in the hand as long as you support the hand cover yourself as you're putting it in. And then you could even have that swiveling around a bit, because you've got those points of articulation. However, I do think that it's a little bit more complicated than it has to be in that articulation. So you end up with a bunch of weak points that maybe you didn't need to have in the first place. But this makes it so that you can rotate this all the way around if you wanted to. And after a certain point, you no longer even know which was the original orientation. But this is probably the most balanced, since one of the multi-purpose way of using this is as a shield. Well, let's take a look at a sword piece. It looks pretty good all on its own, and it's got a thin handle, probably the thinnest out of all of them. So you can just drop it into the hand like that. And it is loose, and if you play with it a little too much, it can pop the hand cover right off as well. But that's really not all that much unusual from a normal Gunpla accessory. So without the green piece, it looks Let me just put that back in the hand. It looks like that. With the green piece. It then looks like that. And even something as small as the gun archer doesn't have too much of an issue holding that up. Then you have these axes, and there is a handle that you can pop out. As you can see, it's a little bit thicker than the sword handle. And you simply drop, I said simply, so you simply drop that back in, and it can use that, just like that. And you already saw this before, but you only saw it without any of the parts in. So to connect the parts, you first put in the swords, and you can do it with or without the beam parts. And I want to show you what it looks like without any of the beam parts on it. And you have to make sure it goes in all the way. Then you put in the axes on top of the swords. Oops, I forgot to put the handle in. But now you know what that looks like. And that is a slightly bigger double blade sword. And it's that tall, and you can also use it as a shield if you like. But, of course, that's not the limit of what it can do. Now, before I show you that, I should show you, and this is one of the reasons why I decided to get this in the first place. Now you can, if it cooperates with you, put these in this way, and it forms a bow. Like this, it's a crossbow. If you were to turn this sideways, it could be a longbow. And once again, you're going to have some issues because of how thick the handle is. But if you wrestle with it a bit, you can get that into the gun archer's hands, and now she is an archer. But I would only recommend doing so as long as you're supporting the hand. That was the other hand cover. Unexpected. And as you can see, that's popped out again. So then that's what that looks like. And you can see these holes here. That doesn't go in there. But these can go in any of the holes on the side of the central shaft. And then you have the wave motion cannon or railgun or whatever you want to call it. And just in case you wanted it to look maybe a little bit more gun-like, you can stick in the blade. And now it's shooting. But then if we want to put in more effects and make it bigger, we have to put those into their proper holes. Let's see. The axe is always attached, one hole to the sword blade and one hole to the main unit. So you put it in that way. And then you can do that. Sometimes it takes a little while to find where one end ends and begins if what you're looking at is the complete thing. Because it all looks the same. And by the way, that's supposed to be painted silver. It's not. When you take out of the box, everything, all the solid opaque plastic is dark gray, and you have the bright green. So this is what it looks like in its full form. And you can use it as a big sword, or you can use it as a shield. As if you were to at least compare it size-wise, it would work like that. And you can sling it sideways as a shield, or use it as a sword, or even as a blade that conducts energy into a blast. And unfortunately, as I said before, it does have its limits for what you can use it for. It's designed to be compatible with frame arms girl, probably also Megami device. It's not specifically designed to be used with Gunpla. You could use it with Gunpla anyway. You just can't use it with no grades, because it's, even though it's in a similar skill, the hands just won't grip it. You can try to see how well these articulated fingers on the Master Grade Gundam The Origin can hold it. It's pretty slippery. It's probably a weight issue more than anything. And it's not gripping it though, and there's no tab to help it. And it sort of is gripping it, but as I guessed, that weight is going to be an issue. And now it kind of looks like a snub-nosed gun. Now you can kind of fudge that. It's loose and jiggling all over the place. But you could do that if you wanted to. I had originally intended to use it within its crossbow mode almost exclusively for the gun archer, and then I could take the axes and give it to something else. And that's certainly an option, but need to find another use for its main modes like this, because that is a very impressive looking weapon. But with all the joints being weak, it is an issue, and it's probably the only issue it has. And it all comes from the overcomplicated joint system. So if I was to make any suggestions for improving on this, it would be to make a less complicated system for holding things with it. So that way you can make it more likely that it will be able to be equipped with certain models, and fully equipped, not just in part. But that about does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you can leave a like, comment below what you thought, show your support by subscribing to my channel or going to my Patreon page, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!